Hi, welcome to another Ask Augustin. Today I want to talk about slides and also shifts. It's very important to choose the right type of slide for each passage that you're playing. And there are a lot of different ways to slide. I think the most common way to do a slide between two notes, and the way that it's often taught, is that you slide with the previous finger, and when you reach the position, then you play the note you're sliding to. So this type of slide can be very useful because it can sound almost like a singer reaching for the next note. But it's very important that we lighten the bow during the slide so that it doesn't sound, so that you're not adding an extra note basically between the two notes. That it's more like that somewhere you lighten during that slide, so it's just a smooth slide to the next note. This is probably the kind of slide that's most unobtrusive, that doesn't really get in the way of the music too much, and you can't really go too wrong with it. The other way to slide, of course, is to slide into the note. So rather than doing the slide with the previous note, you do it with the next one. So this sort of slide. That tends to be kind of more expressive, and especially in romantic music and in showpieces, those are the kinds of slides you might often find where you go that sort of thing. One useful tip for that is it can also be useful to lighten the bow a little bit during the slide, especially because there's a transition between the two fingers. Like maybe you start with the first finger even, but then you switch to the other one. And during that transition, you want to be light with the bow, and then get stronger again with your right hand. And when you actually arrive at the note, that's when you play with full sound. So instead of being very shmeary, it'll be you'll still have a clear definition of where the pitch is when you have arrived at the note, because the instant you arrive, your sound is fuller. And this slide can be very expressive. There are many variations. You can really go just entirely with the new finger, or entirely with the old finger, or a combination. That's more like this. And you really have to see what the circumstance of each phrase is, what you might need. So, for example, in Pour Concerto, this is definitely a slide that's expressive. It's a very vocal thing to do. You also find it in Paganini Concerto. It's a very vocal thing, so you definitely want to... I like to slide with the same finger, and I want people to hear it. This slide, I lighten the bow a lot, because I don't want another slide like this in this place. I want people to hear the intervals of the B flat major there, so I make the slide quite light. So in each place, you might ask yourself, how exactly do you want to slide? Now, the very important difference between slides and shift are that a shift is just the noise that happens when you go from one position to another. So if you're hearing shifts, always be very conscious whether you want that shifting sound there or not, because sometimes these kinds of shifts can happen, and maybe you don't realize like how much it can get in the way. I'll give you one example. When you're going from also actually in the later on in Pour Concerto, when you're switching between the B flat down here and the B flat up here, if you want to slide, you would definitely slide into the new note, but probably you want to avoid that sort of slide. What often happens is that people might go like, that you might hear something like this. It's a similar thing when you're shifting downwards, where if you're not careful, you're gonna start hearing sounds like this. So always be very aware of where you have shifts, and you probably want to eliminate shifts, but do slides when they're appropriate, when you like them, when you actually want to have the slide there, because they can give the music so much expression and make it very beautiful. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you at the next Ask Augustine.